Have you ever carved a pumpkin and felt like it was watching you? Like its hollow eyes followed your every move? We all love a good jack-o'-lantern on Halloween, a symbol of spooky fun. But what if one of them wasn't just a decoration? What if it was something more, something hungry? Night. I'm going to tell you the story of Amy and the pumpkin that never left her. This isn't just a campfire tale, it's a warning. It was a perfect Halloween night, the kind you remember from childhood. The air was crisp, leaves crunched underfoot, and the scent of candy and wood smoke hung in the air. A young woman named Amy was making her rounds, visiting friends, laughing, and soaking in the festive spirit. Her costume was on point, her bag was half full of candy, and life was good. As the night grew darker and the crowds thinned, she found herself walking down a street she didn't usually take, a shortcut she thought would get her home faster. That's when she saw it. Tucked away on a quiet, deserted corner was a small, old-fashioned store. It looked like it had been forgotten by time, with a dusty window and a single flickering light bulb above the door. Most people would have walked right past it, but something drew Amy in. Sitting on a rickety wooden crate outside the shop was the most perfect jack-o'-lantern she had ever seen. It wasn't just good, it was a work of art. The pumpkin itself was a vibrant, flawless orange, round and full, and the face carved into it. That grin. It was a masterpiece of malevolence, a twisted, jagged smile that seemed both joyful and sinister. Its triangular eyes were cut with such precision they seemed to hold a genuine spark of intelligence. Amy was mesmerized. She had to have it. She stepped inside the dimly lit store, the bell above the door barely making a sound. An old man sat behind the counter, his face a roadmap of wrinkles. He looked up as if he'd been expecting her. "You like my pumpkin?" he rasped, his voice like dry leaves skittering across pavement. Amy nodded enthusiastically. "It's incredible. How much is it?" she asked, already reaching for her wallet. The shopkeeper waved a dismissive hand. "It's free," he said, a strange look in his eyes. "Just for you. Just for tonight." Amy was taken aback. Free? For a pumpkin this perfect? She felt a tiny prickle of unease, but the lure of the pumpkin was too strong. She laughed it off, thinking it was just some Halloween generosity. "Wow, thank you so much." "Shh," she exclaimed. She carefully picked it up. It was surprisingly heavy solid. The shopkeeper just watched her, his expression unreadable, as she carried her prize out into the night. She didn't look back. If she had, she might have seen the faintest hint of that same twisted grin on his face. Once she got home, Amy placed the pumpkin on her front porch, right next to the door where everyone could see it. It looked even better under her porch light. She stood back to admire it, but as she did, that initial feeling of unease returned, stronger this time. Something felt off. She squinted. The pumpkin's grin. Hadn't it been a little less wide before? Seemed to stretch almost ear to ear now. The candle flickering inside, which she hadn't even noticed was lit, was casting shadows that seemed to move on their own. They danced and writhed on the walls of her house, independent of the flame. She shook her head. "It's just my imagination," she muttered to herself. Too much sugar and spooky movies? She locked her front door, double-checked it, and went to bed. The image of that unsettling grin seared into her mind. Sometime after midnight, Amy was jolted awake. It wasn't a loud noise, but a soft rhythmic one. Asterisk thump. Thump, thump. Asterisk, it sounded like footsteps right outside her bedroom window. Her heart hammered in her chest. She lived on the second floor. Her window overlooked the backyard. There was no balcony, no ledge, nothing for anyone to stand on. She held her breath, listening. The sound stopped. Silence. Her mind raced. Was it a branch hitting the window? An animal? She slowly crept out of bed and peeked through her curtains. Nothing. The yard was empty. With a sigh of relief, she turned back toward her bed, and that's when she froze. Her blood ran cold. The pumpkin wasn't on the porch anymore. It was inside her house. It was sitting on her bedroom windowsill, facing her. The candle inside was still lit, but now it glowed with an intense, fiery light that pulsed softly like a heartbeat. And its carved eyes, those dark, empty triangles, were fixed directly on her. They seemed to see her, to know her fear. Panic surged through her. This was impossible. The front door was locked. The windows were all closed. How did it get in? How did it get up to the second floor? Not waiting for an answer, she lunged across the room, grabbed the pumpkin, and wrenched open her window. With a scream of terror, she hurled it into the backyard. It landed with a dull thud on the grass below. She slammed the window shut, locked it, and backed away, her body trembling uncontrollably. She stood there for what felt like an eternity, staring at the window, expecting to see it reappear. But nothing happened. The yard remained dark and still. Eventually her breathing slowed. Maybe she had been sleepwalking. Maybe she had brought it inside herself and just didn't remember, was the only logical explanation. She crawled back into bed, pulling the covers up to her chin, and eventually fell into a restless, nightmare-filled sleep. The next morning, Amy woke up with a gasp, drenched in a cold sweat. For a moment, she couldn't remember why she was so terrified. Then, the memory of the night came rushing back. The footsteps, the pumpkin on her windowsill. She threw off the covers and ran to the window, her heart pounding. She looked down into the yard, expecting to see shattered pieces of pumpkin scattered on the lawn. But there was nothing there. The grass was empty. "It's gone," she whispered, a wave of relief washing over her. Maybe a raccoon dragged it away. Maybe it was all a dream. She turned around, and the relief turned to pure, undiluted horror. It was back. The pumpkin was sitting in the middle of her bed, right on her pillow. Its grin was now carved deeper, more pronounced, a vicious, triumphant slash in its orange flesh. The candle inside flickered with a low, menacing glow. And this time, there was something new. A faint, earthy smell, like freshly turned soil and decay, filled the room. This was no dream. This was real. Amy didn't scream this time. The fear was too deep for that. She grabbed the nearest heavy object, a lamp hand, brought it down on the pumpkin with all her might. Asterisk crack, asterisk, the lamp shattered, but the pumpkin was unharmed. Not a scratch, not a dent. Desperate, she dragged it outside, down to the stone patio, and started smashing it with a sledgehammer from the garage. Each blow just bounced off its impossibly hard surface. Frantic, she tried burning it. She doused it in lighter fluid and threw a match on it. The flames roared, engulfing the pumpkin, but when the fire died down, it sat there, completely untouched by the heat, its grin seeming to mock her. Her last resort was to bury it. She dug a deep hole at the far end of her yard, threw the pumpkin in, and shoveled dirt over it until it was completely gone. Sobbing and exhausted, she went back inside, locking every door and window, piling furniture against them. She spent the rest of the day huddled in a corner, watching the sun go down, dreading the coming night. But as darkness fell, a strange calm came over her. Nothing had happened, maybe this time it had worked. That night, Amy's friends grew worried. She wasn't answering her phone. They called and texted but got no reply. The next morning, a few of them went to her house to check on her. They found the front door ajar. Inside, furniture was overturned and a lamp was shattered on the floor. But there was no sign of Amy. They called her name, searched every room. She was gone, vanished without a trace. Her car was in the driveway, her purse on the kitchen counter. It was as if she had just evaporated. The police were called. A search was conducted, but they found nothing. Amy was never seen again. The only clue, the only thing out of place, was found by a police officer later that day. It was sitting right in the middle of the street in front of her house, as if waiting. It was a perfectly carved jack-o'-lantern. Its candle flickered softly in the daylight, and it had a brand new grin, twisted, jagged smile that seemed both joyful and sinister. And if you looked closely, you could see that the grin was carved just a little bit wider than it had been before. So this Halloween, when you're out and you see that perfect pumpkin, the one that seems to glow a little brighter than the others, the one whose carved eyes seem to follow you when you're not looking, just keep walking. Don't be tempted by a free gift, because whatever follows you home, it doesn't stop. It's always looking for a new face to add to its collection. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the shadows. Stay safe out there, and have a happy and careful Halloween.